Okay. Because I sometimes feel like I get scattered because I have so many interests. I don't know what boredom is.
Well, scattered isn't in the vortex. Scattered isn't in the vortex. Scattered is sort of chaotic. Scattered is confused. Scattered is overwhelmed. Scattered isn't in the vortex. So
but if you've got a lot of different things that you're doing and you find time for them when you're inspired to do them, which is what I've been doing.
That's the thing that you see, if there is something that calls you, Esther realizes that this is the magic to Jerry's happy life. He just does what he wants to do. And there's enough of what he wants to do that's really meaningful to him that he just keeps himself in a really happy place. And so that's what we want for all of you. We want you to get to the place where you just do what you want to do. We want you to get to the place where, but just doing what you want to do sometimes involves making what you're doing be something that you want to do. In other words, you look at it in a way that aligns you. For example, let's say that you're washing dishes and you don't really want to be washing dishes. You'd rather be working on your blog, or you'd rather be doing something that's more inspirational. But the dishes need to be washed and you're the one that's doing them. So now you could stand there and you could feel resentment that somebody else is off doing what they want to do while you're washing dishes. Or you could feel resentment that you can't yet afford somebody to wash your dishes. Or you could feel resentment that you didn't get organized enough to have someone take care of it. Or you could feel resentment that you don't have a dishwasher that's washing your dishes. That's all out of the vortex stuff. In other words, just like with the woman who has pain in her body, who could feel hope or who could feel fear, you can be in the act of washing the dishes and you could be resentful, or you could be having fun with it. You could be resentful, or you could be making the best of it. You could be appreciating the warm water. You could be appreciating the detergent that is making your dishes shine and be germ-free. You could appreciate the lovely dishes. You could appreciate the dexterity in other words, there's always, no matter what's happening in your moment in time, there are positive aspects and negative aspects. So no matter what activity you're involved in, there are more leaning toward the vortex thoughts or more leaning away from the vortex thoughts. So as you spend enough time following your inspiration that you are in alignment most of the time, before you know it, you're feeling good no matter what you're doing. In other words, you can be driving, as Jerry and Esther were driving across the country just now. They were on the East Coast. It is so beautiful this time of year. Everything was so green. And as we were driving across the Midwest, it was extra beautiful because of so many rains. And so there's a tendency to now want to compare. Well, I only want to drive across the most beautiful parts of the nation. Well, that's just not very logical. You're going to drive across the nation. You're going to see a lot of different things. And some of it is going to be more pleasing to the eye than others of it. Some of the freeways are a blissful experience. They're smooth, they're wide, the lanes are wide open. Some of the freeways are a bumpy, terrible mess. Some of them are under construction. Some of them, the barricades are so close that getting the monster bus down them is not really the easiest thing in the world to do. So what do? Do you let the conditions that you're living in dictate the way you feel, or do you become so flexible in your mind that you can find something to feel good about regardless of what the current reality is? And that's what we're talking about. So many people they insist that current reality keep morphing to please them, and it won't do it. That's why the older you get, the more you complain. If you are expecting the current reality to morph to please you, you have to find the decision within yourself that you are going to find pleasing thoughts. You're going to follow your bliss. You're going to look for it, and sometimes you have to look harder for it than others. Sometimes you have to be more determined to find it than others. Sometimes it's just easy. And those times that it is easy, they spoil you in the literal sense that they make you lazy about your own focus. And so it's what we're saying to everyone. If you have to have a perfectly healthy body before you feel good, you're in trouble. If you have to have every single meal you eat be perfect in every single way before you can be happy, you're not ever going to be happy. If your kids have to behave and be joyful in every moment, you're not ever going to be happy. In other words, you've got to give up the need to control the uncontrollable and discover your vibrational latitude to connect with your inner being, who is always joyful, who always loves, who always knows, who always understands your value, who always understands the value of others. You have to train yourself into that frequency. When it's easy, and if you train yourself and if you pay attention to it when it's easy and practice it when it's easy, it will never be hard for you again, you see. But you got to understand. You got to understand the laws of the universe. You got to understand vibration. You got to understand what your emotions mean, and you got to care. Most of all, you got to care how you feel. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would make a decision. We would motivate ourselves even. We would say, I am not willing to put up with negative emotion, not for very long. I'm just not going to do it. Now, that doesn't get you anywhere, but it is a sort of decisive point.